Moved for work, and so it's always been very temporary, where I lived in Chelsea, New York for a while, and then I lived in Atlanta, Georgia for a while, and now I've been here for a week and a half, and I'll be here for 6 months.
It's fair to say that very few people can tolerate the star of this movie anymore. Rachel Zegler has become, for better or worse, the living embodiment of a very particular kind of Hollywood wokeness, one that doesn't just advocate for change, but actively alienates the audience it's supposed to inspire. Her interviews, her public statements, and even her offhand remarks have carried a sense of self-importance that has turned viewers away in droves. What was supposed to be a fresh, modern reimagining of a beloved fairy tale has instead turned into a case study in how not to handle a legacy property. Fans didn't come for lectures, yet lectures became all they received. She positioned herself as a moral authority rather than a performer, and in doing so, she unintentionally turned the project into a public spectacle of criticism. From the very beginning, Zegler's portrayal and her commentary seemed to clash with the spirit of Snow White. The character, historically defined by innocence, kindness, and gentle optimism, was recast into a figure of confrontation, constantly challenging tradition and admonishing anyone who dared offer help. Instead of the warmth and charm audiences expected from a Disney princess, she came across as distant, self-assured, and almost imperious, like a guest lecturer at a film theory seminar, eager to lecture the audience on how the story should be interpreted. Her performance and the surrounding publicity campaign signaled that this wasn't about enchanting viewers or retelling a story. It was about correcting it, rewriting it, and imposing a modern agenda. Controversy only compounded as Disney made changes to the classic story itself. The iconic 7 dwarfs, a symbol of the original tale and a source of representation for actors with dwarfism, were largely erased and replaced with vaguely defined magical creatures. One token dwarf remained, but the broader impact of removing these characters was felt immediately. Fans and advocates alike voiced outrage, noting that the studio had erased an important element of diversity and representation. Even Peter Dinklage spoke out, emphasizing the power of visibility in mainstream cinema and the harm of removing characters to avoid controversy. The public argument was clear. If a story needs to evolve, change the narrative. Don't erase the people who brought it to life. Meanwhile, Zegler's own words seemed only to make the situation worse. Her now infamous remark about deserving to be paid for every hour the movie is streamed spread like wildfire across social media, instantly branding her as entitled and out of touch. Every new interview clip was dissected online. Her expressions were turned into memes, her tone ridiculed, and her intentions questioned. She seemed to dismiss decades of cinematic tradition as outdated or irrelevant, and while her goal may have been to champion empowerment, the delivery alienated the very audience Disney had relied on for decades. What might have been perceived as advocacy instead came across as arrogance. Every misstep compounded the perception that she was not merely performing a role, but dictating how the story should be consumed. And Disney? They remained frustratingly silent. A company once legendary for guiding narratives, controlling messaging, and protecting its legacy, suddenly appeared powerless to intervene. No clarifying statements, no damage control. Just silence, a vacuum that audiences filled with mockery, disappointment, and confusion. The studio's lack of response amplified every misstep, leaving viewers to wonder whether Disney even believed in the movie itself. Who indeed was this new Snow White for? The prince was gone. The dwarfs were erased. The romance, the whimsy, the innocence all vanished. What remained was a film that felt uncertain of its own identity, like an after-school special masquerading as a billion-dollar project. When the lights finally dimmed and the first screenings began, the reality was stark. Theater after theater reported sparse attendance. One viral clip captured the heartbreaking image of a viewer entering a 2 p.m., showing to find just 2 other audience members, a cinematic echo of the broader failure. Rachel Zegler, once billed as the shining star of Disney's next generation of princesses, found herself sitting alone, watching herself in a near-empty theater. The scene became emblematic of the entire mismanaged project. A combination of misguided creative choices, unchecked publicity, and a disconnect between intention and reception. It's a tragic irony. Zegler, who declared she didn't need the audience's approval, became the face of the backlash she had inadvertently fueled. While she may have faced online harassment and criticism, it's undeniable that much of the storm was of her own making. Her crusade to redefine a beloved story collided with the audience's expectations, resulting in a backlash as swift as it was intense. Instead of drawing viewers in with charm, humor, or heart, the project alienated them. What could have been a celebration of legacy and modern storytelling became a cautionary tale of hubris, miscommunication, and the perils of letting ideology overshadow entertainment. Ultimately, Snow White didn't just fail at the box office. It became a symbol of a deeper cultural misstep. It highlighted a studio that had lost touch with its audience, an actress whose confidence was misinterpreted as arrogance, and a story that had been hollowed out in pursuit of a message. Families stayed home, theaters went quiet, and the film's failure became a lesson for Hollywood. Magic can't be forced, and audiences don't respond to moralizing when they came for wonder. When the credits rolled, Rachel Zegler sat alone in a theater, a visual metaphor for everything that had gone wrong. A project mismanaged from start to finish, a story stripped of heart, and a cautionary tale of fame, entitlement, and lost magic, laughter. It's fair to say that Rachel Zegler has become one of the most polarizing figures in Hollywood today, and for many, this is even sadder than the moment when the original Snow White bites into the poisoned apple. A moment that, while tragic in the story, is iconic and remembered fondly by generations. Now, she herself has become a cautionary tale, a real-life reflection of how fame, messaging, and public perception can collide in unexpected and often humiliating ways. The Simpsons, one of television's most enduring and razor-sharp satirical institutions, are preparing to air an episode that doesn't just parody Zegler. It roasts her in a way that is as direct as it is brutal. There are no subtle digs, no thinly veiled references, no Easter egg humor to soften the blow. This is raw, unmistakable satire. Within the episode, a movie titled Snow Woke, a reimagined version of the classic Snow White, serves as the focal point for the joke. And yes, the title alone says exactly what it intends, a heavy-handed critique of her approach to the character and the story. But what makes the parody sting even more is not just the writing itself, it's the timing. Rachel is currently embroiled in a whirlwind of headlines, fan backlash, and the consequences of a career that seems trapped in an endless cycle of PR damage control. Now, to be lampooned by one of the most recognized television shows in history, a series that has been dissecting cultural phenomena for over 3 decades, adds a level of public humiliation few young actors ever face. Insiders report that she is not laughing. In the episode, she is depicted as tone-deaf, self-important, and wildly disconnected from reality. The portrayal mirrors much of the criticism that has already surrounded her. From public interviews where her intentions to modernize and empower Snow White were received as arrogant, to sound bites that made her appear dismissive of a story millions of people grew up loving. The online reaction has been immediate and relentless. People are quick to comment, "Oh wow, Snow White flopped." Who is surprised? You cast arguably the least genuine, most out of touch, and widely disliked person in Hollywood, and the results are exactly what anyone could have predicted. Critics and fans alike see the irony as almost poetic. An actress who was once celebrated as Hollywood's next breakout star now finds herself publicly mocked by one of television's most iconic and enduring cultural commentators. The avalanche of scrutiny is compounded by the fact that her career has already faced significant hurdles. Reports have noted that she was let go from various projects at Disney, including voiceover work for Toy Story, signaling that her relationship with the studio is as complicated as the public narrative suggests. To understand how a Cinderella story became a cautionary tale, one must rewind to the early days of Zegler's rise. After her breakout role in West Side Story, she was hailed as the next big thing in Hollywood. A young, talented actress poised to carry a legacy character like Snow White into a modern era. Her casting was supposed to be her defining moment, the role that would cement her place in the industry. But almost immediately, the story began to unravel, not because of the movie itself, but because of the discourse surrounding it. Interviews intended to showcase her excitement for the role instead became viral fodder. Instead of discussing her admiration for the legacy of Snow White or the challenges of portraying such an iconic figure, she focused on critiquing the original 1937 film. In one now infamous clip, she claimed the classic prince was a literal stalker and dismissed the story as outdated and bizarre. The internet exploded. For longtime Disney fans, her comments weren't just controversial. They felt like mockery of the very story she had been entrusted to bring to life. Her attempts to frame the film as a modern feminist reinterpretation came across as dismissive and arrogant, further alienating a devoted fan base. every public statement seemed to intensify the backlash, transforming her from a promising young star into the center of an ongoing PR crisis. Her intentions, to portray a Snow White who is a leader rather than a passive figure waiting for a prince, were overshadowed by her delivery and public persona. Meanwhile, Disney, which once excelled at protecting the narrative around its iconic properties, appeared powerless to contain the fallout. The silence of the studio was deafening, and the gap between intention and reception widened. Fans, critics, and casual viewers all seemed to agree. This was no longer just a movie, it was a cultural flashpoint. The Simpsons parody, arriving at the apex of this storm, cements her status as a figure who has become inseparable from the controversy itself. A role that should have been celebrated has instead become a source of ridicule. A lesson in how quickly public opinion can turn when messaging, performance, and perception collide in the age of viral media. Ultimately, the tale of Rachel Zegler and Snow White is a cautionary one, a story about fame, entitlement, and the high stakes of representing beloved cultural icons. The laughter that accompanies clips of her on-screen, off-screen, and in public commentary is not just about one actress's performance. It is a reflection of the consequences of misjudging the delicate balance between legacy, modern reinterpretation, and audience expectation. Sitting alone in empty theaters, facing memes, viral parodies, and social media dissection, Rachel's journey serves as a stark reminder that in Hollywood, the line between breakout success and public humiliation is often narrower than anyone anticipates. The more Rachel Zegler tried to defend this movie, the more she attempted to push her personal agenda onto the public, the worse things became, not just for her own reputation, but for Bob Iger and the remaining image of Disney as a trusted cultural institution. Each attempt at clarification seemed only to fuel the fire. As more interview clips surfaced online, the backlash gained momentum. What some viewers praised as bold, progressive, and modern, others saw as condescending, preachy, and entirely out of touch. The internet, as it tends to do, turned every word into fodder for viral clips, memes, and heated debates. In one particularly surreal moment, a commentator raved about the new Snow White, saying, "I just got to tell you, best movie I've seen in years." And there have been some really incredible films lately. Madam Web, Rebel Moon Part 1, that movie about the Mexican drug lord, the transgender one, but Snow White blows them all away. They continued, listing the supposed highlights: horrifying CGI little people. Check. A feminist princess who doesn't need a man. Double check. A dance party at the end. Double diddy check. It was a hyperbolic endorsement, dripping with the same kind of irony and disbelief that fans were beginning to feel about the film itself. The phrase "girlboss Snow White" began trending across social media, and not in a flattering way. Every quote from Zegler was scrutinized, every public appearance magnified, and every red carpet moment dissected as a reflection of both the actress and the film. Perhaps one of the most revealing indicators of the movie's struggles was Zegler's dynamic, or lack thereof, with co-star Gal Gadot. Fans and viewers noticed the awkward body language, the forced smiles, the minimal interaction during interviews and public events. The Oscars moment in particular stood out. As the pair presented the nominees for Best Visual Effects, audiences couldn't help but observe the absence of chemistry. Gadot appeared poised yet distant, and speculation quickly spread that she had chosen to distance herself from the controversy surrounding Zegler and the film. Behind-the-scenes whispers painted a picture of tension, with the two stars existing in separate worlds despite sharing the same stage. Meanwhile, Disney remained unusually quiet. No course corrections, no official statements clarifying the creative direction, no attempt to recenter the narrative, just business as usual. And audiences noticed. The film itself, stripped of familiar elements like the iconic dwarfs, the prince, and the classic tonal warmth, failed to resonate. In its place was a politically reworked narrative that left longtime fans confused and frustrated. Many asked the question that quickly became the heart of the backlash: was this even Snow White anymore? Zegler's version attempted to shift the meaning of the character entirely. Gone was the traditional connection to the fairy tale's classic emphasis on kindness, innocence, and moral integrity. In interviews, she emphasized that Snow White was no longer defined by the fairness of her skin, but rather by her ability to endure adversity, to survive metaphorical and literal snowstorms, and to act with fairness of heart. Fairness, she explained, is what is within. It's about how you treat people, not about appearances. That's the message between Snow White and the Evil Queen. That's the moral of the story, and the way Disney has elevated it for a modern audience is very special. While the intention to modernize and elevate the moral message may have been noble, the execution left audiences underwhelmed. When the film finally debuted, the box office numbers were starkly disappointing. Despite Disney's brand recognition and marketing power, the movie failed to find a foothold. It wasn't the first live-action remake to stumble, but it quickly became one of the most divisive. And now it's being immortalized in pop culture the way only The Simpsons can do best, with sharp, biting satire that cuts close to the uncomfortable truth. The Simpsons parody of the film, and of Zegler herself, crystallizes what the public had already begun to realize. A combination of overzealous messaging, controversial casting decisions, and the erasure of classic story elements had left a film unrecognizable to its core audience. Snow White, the timeless symbol of innocence and magic, had been transformed into a cultural battleground. A lesson for Hollywood that no amount of political or ideological reimagining can replace the simple joy and wonder that originally captured hearts for generations. For Rachel Zegler, what began as a career-defining opportunity with Disney has instead become a cautionary tale, a stark lesson in the volatility of public image, the fragility of franchise loyalty, and the fine line between genuine empowerment and overreach. Whether audiences agreed with her modern reinterpretation of the classic Snow White or not, the media storm that followed transformed the film, and Zegler herself, into a symbol of controversy. The initial excitement surrounding her casting, once celebrated as a bold step toward diversity and modern storytelling, quickly turned into a relentless cycle of criticism, ridicule, and viral mockery. After the dust settled and the headlines moved on, the numbers spoke for themselves, leaving little doubt about the film's disastrous reception. Yet the box office alone didn't tell the full story. On IMDb, the movie plummeted to a staggering 6 out of 10, a rating so low that it positioned Snow White among the worst-rated Disney productions in history. It wasn't just a commercial failure, it was a cultural one. Fans didn't simply skip the film, they celebrated its downfall, turning it into meme material, viral punchlines, and heated Reddit threads titled, "How Not to Market a Movie." Social media became a relentless echo chamber, where every quote, every appearance, and every red carpet moment was dissected again, and endlessly circulated, cementing Zegler's association with a film that had spiraled far from the magic audiences expected. The chaos didn't end with the numbers. In a surreal twist that blurred the line between scandal and satire, a fake OnlyFans profile featuring an AI-generated likeness of Rachel surfaced online. While entirely fabricated, the profile went viral almost instantly, drawing thousands of followers, jokes, and shares. For a fleeting moment, viewers entertained the idea that it might actually be her. While Zegler had no involvement whatsoever, the very plausibility of such a hoax underscored just how drastically her public image had shifted. So much so that audiences no longer found the idea of impersonation shocking. It felt disturbingly believable. In Hollywood, perception is everything, and her perception had fractured. Behind the scenes, the industry quietly but unmistakably began to change its tone toward her. Casting calls that had once listed her name at the top were suddenly redirected, rumored projects stalled, and future opportunities were delayed or recast entirely. Studio executives, while rarely speaking publicly about such matters, reportedly became wary of associating their brands with an actress now perceived as a PR liability. In the span of a single year, Rachel Zegler had gone from the face of Disney's future to a cautionary tale, a demonstration of just how fast a young star can rise and fall in the merciless world of Hollywood. Adding to the personal toll was her very public breakup with longtime partner Josh Andres Rivera. The pair, who had met during West Side Story and were once considered one of Hollywood's rising power couples, reportedly struggled under the weight of relentless media scrutiny, online attacks, and constant pressure. Friends close to the couple revealed that the emotional strain of the Snow White fallout proved too heavy, turning private heartbreak into public spectacle. Zegler, already contending with a spiraling career, now had to navigate the additional challenges of personal loss, making the narrative of her downfall both professional and deeply personal. Then came the moment that no Hollywood actor truly wants to face: The Simpsons. Known for their incisive satire of politics, pop culture, and celebrity missteps, the show dedicated an episode to a fictional film called Snow Woke, Muebe Sanchez Tiansim Amasias Mastasmaib. Featuring a not-so-subtle stand-in for Zegler named Rachel Zegler, the parody spared nothing. It portrayed her rewriting fairy tale lore, banning princes, lecturing confused villagers in long-winded speeches, and watching her fictional movie flop in theaters across Springfield. The climax of the episode depicted a live meltdown on Krusty the Clown's talk show, painting a caricature of desperation dressed in pastel pink, a thinly veiled yet unmistakable jab at the real-world unraveling of Ziegler's public image. In Hollywood, being parodied by The Simpsons is a milestone of notoriety. It signals that your fall from grace has not just entered the tabloids, but the cultural canon. For decades, the show has skewered politicians, pop stars, and cinematic flops alike, but only those who have crossed the threshold from celebrity to spectacle are immortalized in Springfield. In that sense, Rachel's depiction isn't just a joke, it's an obituary for the version of her once heralded as Hollywood's bright new era. It's a public acknowledgement that the industry, the media, and audiences alike now view her through the lens of a cautionary tale. There is still time for redemption. Hollywood loves comeback stories, but the path ahead is undeniably steeper. The combination of a box office disaster, a fractured public image, a studio hesitant to invest in her future, and the personal pressures of a highly publicized breakup means that her next steps must be calculated with precision. In an industry that thrives on perception, Rachel Zegler's image has been cracked wide open. The world is watching, waiting to see if she can rebuild her career, restore her reputation, and reclaim a place in Hollywood's ever-shifting landscape, or if this chapter of controversy will remain the defining moment of her early career.